This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good evening. The world's most expensive warplane finally got off the ground today. The maiden flight of the B-2 bomber went off without a hitch. Still, Pentagon correspondent David Martin reports the plane has a long way to go to prove its worth.
After a weekend spent fixing the fuel pressure problem that aborted its first attempt to fly, the stealth bomber stood poised like a giant bat at the end of the runway.
We were fairly busy throughout the takeoff roll, so we really didn't have time to worry much about whether or not it was going to come off the ground. And it just smoothly came off the ground, hardly even knew that it had. That's a beautiful sight.
Today's first flight was not a test of the $500 million plane's ability to evade radar. In fact, it flew with its wheels down to make it easier to track. Max speed was only 180 knots, maximum altitude 10,000 feet. Today, the pilots only wanted to know if the giant flying wing performed the way thousands of hours of wind tunnel tests and computer simulations said it would.
It's going to be a very easy airplane to fly, I think.
Although the B-2 is designed to fly 6,000 miles without refueling, today's flight was just a short hop across the California desert from the Northrop plant where it was built to Edwards Air Force Base, where the landing looked as smooth as the takeoff.
It touches down very smoothly.
3D landing. I had to ask the tower if we were on the ground.
This was a day the Air Force has been working toward for a decade.
This was a historic day in aviation. We flew the flying wing. We're talking about an airplane now that basically negates the air defenses that have been built up over the many, many years around the world.
But the stealth bomber's first flight did not appear to change many minds in Congress, where members are reeling from the sticker shock of a program that cost $70 billion for 132 planes.
The dollars that we're looking at, I think, is just politically not doable.
We can't have an airplane that is so expensive that you can't afford to use it in combat. One flight does not a test program make.
What's next? A $100 billion Batmobile?
Today, the stealth bomber answered the basic question, can it fly? But when it comes to justifying the plane's price tag, Congress may have more questions than the Air Force has answers. David Martin, CBS News, Edwards Air Force Base, California.
The Air Force has two stealth planes, actually, the bomber that flew today, and a smaller fighter plane that's been flying for several years. Like the B-2, it's designed to hide from enemy radar. Unlike the bomber, it's also been hidden from news cameras. CBS News reporter Scott Pelley got a rare look at the stealth fighter.
Above the high desert of Nevada, one of the Pentagon's darkest secrets has flown into the light. After 6 years of clandestine night missions, the Air Force has expanded daytime flights of the stealth fighter, a revolutionary aircraft called the F-117A. It is smaller and older than the stealth bomber. The F-117 has been unseen but fully operational since 1983.
What the F-117 project has done is demonstrated conclusively that a stealth aircraft can be built and that a stealth aircraft can perform an operational mission.
The F-117 is designed to be the Air Force's magic bullet. Its mission is to slip behind enemy lines to knock out key command and defense centers. Unlike the stealth bomber, the F-117 has been kept under wraps here in the Mojave Desert. About 50 of the planes are believed to be hidden away in hangars on an Air Force installation that has no public name. The fighters were built by Lockheed, and according to congressional sources, they were on time and close to budget. Each cost about $70 million, twice the price of a conventional fighter. There has been no public debate on whether it is money well spent.
The management of the program is classified. It's hard to find out about that. These are programs it's intrinsically difficult for the public to know about, even for the Congress to know about.
Secrecy also surrounds 3 stealth fighter crashes. 2 pilots have been killed. Investigators believe they became disoriented during night missions. Critics of the fighters say both speed and agility have been sacrificed to the radar-evading design. And in fact, the Pentagon has stopped production at 59 planes. Now, a new generation is being developed. Advances are coming so rapidly, even this futuristic aircraft is no longer on the leading edge of stealth technology. Scott Pelley, CBS News, near Tonopah, Nevada.
The United States government formally offered today to pay families of the people who were killed when a U.S. Navy warship shot down an Iranian airliner in the Persian Gulf last year. But the Iranian families are not likely to collect the money soon because of the gulf that remains between the two governments. State Department correspondent Bill Plant reports.
A year after Iran Air Flight 655 was shot down by the USS Vincennes over the Persian Gulf, the U.S. government is ready to pay compensation to the families of the 290 people who were killed. $250,000 for full-time wage earners, $100,000 for the others. 250 of the victims were Iranian, but their government has refused to cooperate.
Unfortunately, during the past year, the government of Iran has ignored repeated efforts by the United States to obtain information on the families of the Iranian victims.
And in any case, the U.S. would not trust Iran with the money. It demands that any payments be handled by an intermediary.
It's a question of our desire to make sure that the money goes to the people who were, in fact, suffered from this tragedy.
The money is strictly a goodwill gesture, since the administration accepts no legal responsibility for the disaster on the grounds that the Vincennes was already engaged in surface combat and believed it was shooting in self-defense. By contrast, when an Iraqi warplane fired on the USS Stark and killed 37 sailors, Iraq paid an average of $750,000 to each victim's family. U.S. officials explained the disparity by saying that American casualties were young family men with relatively high incomes. And they claim there's no similarity between the cases, saying the Iraqi pilot was not acting in self-defense. Administration officials defend the non-negotiable U.S. money offer as fair and reasonable, and say that President Bush approved it only after the Iranians failed to provide information on the victims, which might have justified higher settlements. Rough estimate of the total cost, $30 million. Iran, meanwhile, has filed a damage claim against the U.S. at the World Court. Bill Plant, CBS News, the State Department.
It's been 4 days now since a small private plane, its pilot slumped apparently unconscious at the controls, flew 800 miles along the East Coast on automatic pilot. The plane crashed into the ocean. The pilot survived. A puzzling episode deepened into mystery when it was learned the pilot had been shot. Authorities were anxious to talk to him. Now they have, and Juan Vasquez reports what they learned.
Now that Thomas Root has told his story to relatives, to investigators, and to reporters, the puzzle remains as baffling as ever. How was he shot? Who shot him? His answer, I don't know.
He is very adamant in that. I've asked him time and again. He has no recollection of when or how the gun discharged, and he is as confused by that aspect of this accident as anyone.
The gun was a .32 caliber hammered revolver, like this one. A gun enthusiast, Root frequently took it with him on long flights.
He stated to me that he keeps it loaded with rounds in all chambers, and he keeps it uncocked.
That would make it harder to fire. And how did the gun get from the closed glove box where he kept it to the pilot's side of the cabin? Police say he was shot just above the navel, the barrel practically next to the skin.
The only thing you can think of is that it discharged at impact, when the plane impacted the water.
Root told the Washington Post he is embarrassed at the notoriety he attracted as an unconscious pilot and denied that he attempted suicide. The physical evidence, the airplane, now lies in the deep water of the Atlantic Ocean more than a mile down. There are no plans at this time to retrieve it. So investigators are left with few clues. Later this week, they will get the results of toxicology tests to find out why Root might have passed out in the first place. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Miami.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Susan Spencer on the special risks of cancer for poor people. And Richard Wagner on the killing of elephants for ivory.
Now, new scientific tests prove Heart's Blockade Repellent gives your pet total protection against fleas and ticks, or your money back. Unsolicited, here's what some satisfied Blockade users have told us.
My golden retriever suffered with fleas and ticks. Heart's Blockade solved the problem. It really works.
I'm so pleased with Heart's Blockade. I have 3 dogs and 7 cats and raise basset hounds who have always had a flea problem until I use Blockade. It's terrific.
Heart's Blockade, guaranteed flea and tick protection that really works.
Fat, chance. Finding a faucet made as well as a Price Pfister. After all, it's the one made in its own USA foundry. The one uniquely fashioned with a heart of solid brass. Start to finish, the quality is first rate. Furthermore, the cost is a fraction of what you'd expect. So why fiddle around? Get a Price Pfister, the fabulous faucet with a funny name.
How strong is Extra Strength Tums EX? Heartburn strikes, Tums strikes back. Heartburn's gone that fast. Tums EX, twice as strong, twice as fast as regular Rolaids.
Do denture wearers need to worry about tartar? You betcha. That's why I love my new Polident. Its super strength now controls ugly tartar for an even better clean. Try my new super strength Polident. Controls tartar for a super clean.
Two members of the Bush administration appeared today before the congressional subcommittee investigating the HUD scandal. One testified, the other didn't. The one who didn't invoked the Fifth Amendment. More on today's doings from Terrence Smith.
I respectfully decline to answer based on my Fifth Amendment rights.
With that, the first member of the Bush administration directly implicated in the HUD scandal refused to testify for fear of incriminating himself. And Carla Hills, a member of the Bush cabinet, spent 5 hours defending her role as attorney for a mortgage company that cost the government hundreds of millions of dollars in defaulted loans. Hunter Cushing, now a Deputy Assistant Commerce Secretary, once directed several of the HUD programs currently under scrutiny.
If you're not able to answer the questions truthfully, which is your right as a citizen, then you ought to step down from your position right now in the Commerce Department.
I have asked to be and have been placed on administrative leave without pay.
Cushing would have been questioned about his role in approving millions of dollars in subsidized housing funds for projects backed by prominent Republicans, projects from Rhode Island to Puerto Rico. Hills, as U.S. Trade Representative, sits in the Bush cabinet. A former housing secretary, she was retained by the trouble-ridden DRG mortgage company to clear its name at HUD. But according to an FBI search warrant obtained by CBS News, the company is suspected of theft, bribery, conspiracy, and money laundering. The search warrant affidavit reveals that, as a result of this criminal activity, HUD is estimating a loss of approximately $500 million.
In all of this representation, I never had a hint of fraud or intentional wrongdoing from HUD. No one ever said to me, Carla, this client, you really, something's wrong with it. Never.
When the professional staff at HUD refused to clear DRG to write new mortgages, Hills went to former Housing Secretary Samuel Pierce and got the ruling reversed.
I guess I just wish you had failed. And I have a feeling you wish you did too.
You're right.
The committee excused Hills but announced its determination to recall Cushing and to see that he is suspended from his job at the Commerce Department until he testifies. As one congressman put it, the standards by which you stay in office are different than the standards by which you stay out of jail. Terrence Smith, CBS News, Washington.
President Bush ended his European tour today in the Low Country of Holland on a high note. Leslie Stahl is with the president.
President Bush's last stop, the ancient city of Leiden, home of Rembrandt. Last stop for the Pilgrims in 1620 before they set sail for the New World. Today, the people line the streets to see the first American president ever to visit the Netherlands. Most, but not all, were friendly. Greeted by Queen Beatrix, President Bush ended his 9-day trip as he began it, calling on Eastern Europe, as he put it, to enter a widening circle of freedom. He recalled what he'd seen in Gdansk and Budapest.
Tens of thousands of people, literally tens of thousands, filled the street. New voices, full of new hope. And theirs were the faces of pilgrims on a journey, fixed on the horizon, on the new world coming into view.
But even as George Bush celebrated the triumph of Western values, his trip to Europe underscored the diminishing power of the United States. More and more, this president is sharing the leadership role with Western Europe.
The key is concerted action, bringing the collective strength of the West to bear on our common concerns.
In Poland, Hungary, and the economic summit, the trip seemed to reinforce the fact that the United States no longer has the money to solve the world's problems.
A success in the summit is not necessarily measured by bold new initiatives with major price tags.
The president goes home tomorrow to confront reality, the budget deficit that created this era of limits. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, Bleeswijk, the Netherlands.
Dear Malox, my daughter's dates give me Malox moments.
Hey, I'm here!
Last night was a real doozy. What a Malox moment. My stomach did flip-flops. Good thing Extra Strength Malox Plus is so strong. My doctor recommended it, and it's the strongest antacid I can buy. With teenagers, Malox is a must.
Nice house.
Nice earring.
Write us about your Malox moments. Extra Strength Malox Plus. Strong relief for all your Malox moments.
Once a little guy went out to see his friends, but Rocky acted funny, and Louis shied away. Maybe it's my breath, he thought. Whew. Then Louis suggested a milk-bone dog biscuit. Good idea. Look, they said, every delicious crunch helps scrape away food particles and plaque that can cause bad breath. And to remember the happy day, Rocky took a picture. The moral, fresh breath, clean teeth, milk-bone twice a day.
Terry's family loves olive oil, but they could do without the excess fat and calories. So Terry, meet Pam. New olive oil Pam. It adds about 90% less fat and calories.
It's time once again for Kinko's 2.5-cent copy sale. You pay just 2.5 cents each for white letter size copies. We'll be open 24 hours a day for this 1 week only sale. Get your 2.5-cent copies at Kinko's, the copy center.
The Israeli government, under pressure from the United States, has announced it will allow schools to begin reopening this week on the occupied West Bank. The condition is that the schools not be used for political activities in support of the Palestinian uprising. And today, Israeli soldiers were going through classrooms, removing what the army said was propaganda material. It's been more than a year since the Israelis shut down the schools. Martha Teichner reports that during all that time, education went underground.
For the last 18 months, education in the Israeli-occupied West Bank has been a crime. If the Israeli army raided this underground school hidden in the shell of an unfinished building, the teacher would go to jail. The students' families would probably be punished.
Good, it's better. It's better than nothing.
More than 300,000 Palestinian students have no choice but to break the law if they want any formal education. The Israelis have kept the 1,200 schools on the West Bank closed for most of the last year and a half, since the beginning of the Arab uprising, the Intifada. They outlawed these so-called people's schools as well. Even home study kits prepared by the UN were banned.
You'll find thousands of young children, 6, 7, and 8 years old, that are illiterate or almost illiterate.
Education is precious to Palestinians. Their literacy rate is 90%, higher than the United States. The Israelis argue that Palestinian schools are a security threat, the breeding ground for organized Intifada violence. But the kids haven't stopped throwing stones. Palestinians think the closing of West Bank schools was really intended as a form of collective punishment. It has only fueled their deep anger and resentment.
I don't think the Israelis want us to be educated. I think the Israelis want us to be manual laborers, to collect their garbage in the streets of Haifa and Tel Aviv.
The students are singing a Palestinian version of We Shall Overcome. In the West Bank's underground schools, children are encouraged to equate the Israeli Star of David with the Nazi swastika. Politics is now part of the curriculum.
We want to study and we will study. They do not want us to know anything and we will know everything, even about Intifada.
Here, where learning has become an act of defiance against the Israelis, picking up a stone is one of the first lessons. Martha Teichner, CBS News, on the West Bank.
Another east-west barrier was breached today. The Vatican announced it is restoring full diplomatic relations with Poland. It's the first time the Roman Catholic Church has entered into full relations with a Soviet bloc government. The Polish parliament restored the church to legal status a few weeks ago and established freedom of religion.
This compact machine is blindingly, dizzyingly fast.
Look, if we reduce the drag, what, 0.3?
0.3 is good. Compact. It's the muscle car of computers.
Now, let's make it a convertible.
One convertible coming up.
Compact has emerged as a leader as well as an innovator.
What's the rest of Detroit going to think?
They better think fast.
Why can't they make a stronger flea collar?
Someone has. Scratch X. Look, compared to Hearts and Sergeants, Scratch X has the power to kill twice as many fleas. Compare. All these collars kill fleas, but Scratch X has the power to kill twice as many fleas, since it's government approved to work twice as long.
Yet Scratch X is safe for 3-month-old pets.
Remember, compared to Hearts and Sergeants' 5-month collars, the Scratch X 11-month collar has the power to kill twice as many fleas.
There's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
There is. Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micotin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got miconazole. There's nothing more powerful than this.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micotin.
We've studied your mouth from every angle and created a toothbrush with a very special angle, the Reach toothbrush, with a dental angle designed to clean even back teeth better, to get your teeth 51% cleaner than the other leading brush. Reach for 51% cleaner teeth.
In recent years, there's been considerable progress in the war against cancer. Today, the American Cancer Society said it's mainly the rich and the middle class who have benefited. If you're poor, the Cancer Society said, a diagnosis of cancer is most often a needless death sentence. Medical correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
The new report concludes that while cancer strikes rich and poor equally, the chances of surviving cancer are not equal at all. The chances are much worse if one is poor.
The combination of cancer and poverty is indeed a lethal combination.
This year, 178,000 people will die in this country because cancer went undetected. In 90,000 cases, the Society says, poverty will be the main reason a person doesn't seek help or doesn't get it. In many areas, care is simply not available to people without the money to pay, or without the sophistication to work through the bureaucracy to get assistance they're entitled to.
It just doesn't seem right that someone has to sit home and die just because they don't have the means to help themselves.
Our society literally condemns people to needless suffering and to needless death.
For those not impoverished when cancer strikes, the disease itself often creates poverty. Teresa Hicks has been battling cancer since age 15. Today, she has a brain tumor. She no longer has a home.
The stress is almost unbearable. You know, I've felt at times that I didn't want to go on. I didn't want to go through it anymore.
The study doesn't put a price tag on reaching out to the tens of thousands of poor people who confront cancer. But its authors point out that even forgetting compassion, it makes sense to try.
The American healthcare system will pay for the cancer, finally. If it won't pay up front, where it may be cheaper and save lives and prevent human suffering, it will pay behind.
The report calls for a new war on cancer, a guerrilla war this time, to be waged in the neighborhoods and poverty pockets of America, places that clearly haven't benefited much from the battles won so far. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
Get ready for a new eye drop so refreshing you won't believe your eyes.
Wow.
Introducing new Visine Extra. An extra medication cools, soothes, moisturizes, and protects irritated eyes. New Visine Extra.
What pain reliever has been recommended by doctors over 35 million times? Advil. Advil gives you the kind of strength you want. Just one Advil is as effective as 2 regular strength Tylenol. And when you really hurt, 2 Advils stop the pain fast. Yet, as strong as Advil is, it's gentler to your stomach than aspirin. Before, there was only this or this, but today, there's Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
You can see the dream of success in the eyes of people all across America.
At Citicorp, we understand the dream. That's why, as Citicorp and Citibank, we've become America's largest financial services organization, already helping 1 in every 5 American families, with more home mortgages, more student loans, more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. We'd like you to get to know us better. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
Good morning.
Good news. Medical experts agree today's X-Lax helps restore natural fluid balance to get you back to natural regularity. And that's a good morning for you. Today's X-Lax, the sure way back to natural regularity.
The government of Kenya plans to burn more than 12 tons of contraband elephant tusks tomorrow to dramatize its support for a world ban on the ivory trade. The African elephant is endangered by illegal hunting, but the proposal for an ivory ban is meeting resistance from South Africa and from some of its neighbors in the southern part of the continent. They say they have better ways to protect the species. Richard Wagner reports on all this.
When the subject is elephants and their survival, the world is worried. In the last decade, poachers have slaughtered hundreds of thousands of elephants in Africa, the killers catering to the world's desire for ivory. Ivory, carved and decorated, is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
In Africa, they call this white gold. The ivory in these 2 tusks is worth $50,000, but because of their size as collector's items, they're priceless.
Much of the world sees the elephant in great peril because of the value of its tusks, but in some countries, that's not the case. South Africa has a remarkable conservation policy which maintains a stable elephant population while at the same time harvesting ivory through controlled shooting. The ivory is then sold and the revenue plowed back into conservation. Naturalists here resent strongly a total ban on ivory sales.
We feel highly frustrated when people try and dictate to us who are not informed, who do not have the background, and who may not even be concerned about ecosystems at all.
South Africans say a ban on the ivory trade would not stop the poaching of elephants. There is too much money involved. What they want is careful elephant management, which treats ivory as a renewable resource.
In many elephant populations, and in particular those in southern Africa, which are not endangered in the least, and there the elephant problem is that there are too many of them, and that one of the ways of protecting them is by controlling their numbers.
South Africa has almost no chance of changing world opinion. Given the political situation here, South Africa has little influence and fewer friends in the international community. In just the last month, support for the ban has been announced by several customers in the ivory game, including the United States. Richard Wagner, CBS News, in the Kruger National Park.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather, who's away for a few days. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith. Tomorrow, the controversial B-2 stealth bomber. Is it a needed weapon or a taxpayer waste? Also, rock singer Rick Astley on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.